Trying to get away from the perception that the show never changes, organisers of this year's Newcastle show have taken a new, modern approach.
We started a program last year, a 3-year rebuilding program, and the common opinion was that the show never changed, and we've set about changing that so people can see something different, new and exciting.
With the show just 3 weeks away, preparations at the Broadmeadow site are well underway. As well as the usual attractions of Sideshow Alley, Durkin Amusements has shipped in Australia's largest portable roller coaster. The 120-tonne steel frame will take 12 men around 10 days to assemble. The big draw card of the show, though, will be the international youth group Up With People. 120 young people from 18 countries will sing and dance their way through the 4 days. The rest of the entertainment will be an expo-style street theatre approach. 2 new costumes, each worth around $3,000, have been bought by the show committee and will be seen strolling around the grounds. Also appearing will be the Flying Lotus and the Flying Golans, along with stuntman Dar Davies, who will attempt to break the world helicopter freefall record by jumping more than 76 metres from a helicopter.
Sideshow Alley, of course, is always popular, and we have the chipmunk and the squirrel and the Ferris wheel for people like me who get sick on those fast rides. But all the traditional fun of the fair, basically.
With increased sponsorship dollars and exhibition space booked out months ago, it's expected attendance at this year's Newcastle show will be up on previous years.
We would hope that we will increase on last year's figures. We brought in just under 150,000 people last year, which was a 9.98% increase on the previous year. If we could do 10% increase again this year, we'd be very pleased.
By June next year, a secondary treatment plant will be online at the Burwood Beach Treatment Works, producing around 300,000 tonnes of liquid sludge annually. Though the idea of pumping it underground into the flooded shafts of Newcastle Colliery has been around for more than a year, the Hunter Water Board is now keen to gauge public opinion. Residents have 5 weeks to comment, and an open day is planned at the works later this month.
Generally, the response so far has been very favourable. So we're hoping that the people will ask difficult questions, will get themselves satisfied that the solution is viable, and that they'll overcome the fears they may have with this option.
The $500,000 mine disposal option will only be trialled for 2 years, while longer-term options for sludge, like landfill or incineration, are considered.
The biggest drawback is the fact that it's new, no one's done it before, so we're uncertain precisely what the effects are going to be. That's why it's so fundamental that we get the monitoring in place, that we understand what comes out of it each time we put sludge down it, and that we can assess those results in a way that we understand what the long-term effects are going to be.
When it came to night games, the Knights were in the dark. The ISC had no field lighting, which meant on the 3 occasions they have played at home after dark, the Knights have had to install portable lighting. That was only partly successful, with the generator power insufficient to allow television coverage. Today, a whole new light was shed on the problem, with the signing of a $450,000 contract to build a permanent system. $350,000 was provided by the state government, the remainder by the ISC Trust. Chairman Bill Nibbs signed the long-awaited contract with Ron Allen of Halmax Services. The Newcastle firm has signed the task of building the system. Work will be completed by the end of May, with a nighttime game to be scheduled soon after.
Let's put them behind, I feel, by missing out on quite a few good games. Well, now we've got the facilities, which will be starting immediately, and I feel that it'll be a great success for the Knights. It's for all people to use. It's rugby union, soccer, whatever who wants to use it. It's available for everyone, for the people of Newcastle.
It's part of a new image for the ISC. Another addition is this sideline seating on the eastern section. 1,140 seats have been built, each to be sold for $120. But despite the cost, already 3/4 have gone.
The club is buying Newcastle's way back into the National Soccer League, a spot lost to the area in 1985 after the boom and bust days of KB United and the Rosebuds Newcastle Soccer Club. It's believed Newcastle and the Coalfields area was the birthplace of the game in Australia in the 1800s, but it will cost Austral about $1 million in ground and club works to return to the big league.
We are certainly there after this announcement. There's no risk about that.
A grandstand with seating for 1,600 people along the eastern side of the field was the final criteria needed for a place in the 1991-92 competition. Acceptance will cement a brighter future in the sport for young local players who would otherwise have to leave the area to be in the top competition.
We want to see young people get all the opportunity they possibly can. And in this area, the third largest or second largest city in New South Wales, there are a tremendous number of young people who are very interested in soccer.
And any young player or future players that want to make the grade, well, they'll have the opportunity and they'll have the club to go to.
Talent spotters will soon focus their attention on school soccer, selecting young players who may progress to the ranks of a local professional soccer team within the next few years. Austral plans a November opening of its new stand, along with a kick-off in the National League.
And I'd be delighted to come up here and see it finished and to come and watch the first game in the National Soccer League.
Great.
In the Hunter region, 3,000 teachers met this morning at 27 locations, all linked to the Sydney meeting by Sky Channel. The motion to take industrial action on March the 14th was overwhelmingly endorsed, with just 64 teachers voting against. The general feeling from the meetings, though, was a desire to bring the two-year-old campaign to a conclusion and quickly resolve outstanding issues such as executive pay and equal salaries for third and fourth year trained teachers. That sentiment was also echoed by the head of education in the Hunter region, Alan Beard.
I'm sure that the community generally is thoroughly sick of any kind of strike action, really.
Yesterday, the Education Department threatened to close down schools for the day and dock pay if skeleton staff was not available. According to the department, all schools in the region were manned. However, most parents chose to keep their children away until 11 o'clock. At the primary level, around half the schools in the Hunter were affected by the stop work meeting, while all high schools were disrupted, with 90% of staff not on duty during 9 and 11 o'clock this morning.
With ample water available, the track at Broadmeadow is in tip-top condition and officials are confident quick times will be recorded and they are prepared to offer a little incentive.
The track record here is 155.8 held by Rowleyalla, and the New South Wales record is 155.6 held by Westburn Grant, created last November in the Miracle Mile. And we're offering $500 to the horse or the first horse that can break the track record, and $1,000 if they break the New South Wales record.
Rowleyalla set the track and New South Wales record on opening night with a slashing time of 155.8, but Gordon feels a Sydney-sider could take both records in the free-for-all Race 3.
We've got a very good horse coming up from Sydney, one of the David Aiken horses, Franco Glen. He's run 157.3 and 157.2 in 2 wins recently at Harold Park. I'm very confident that Franco Glen, and I believe David Aiken is too, that horse will go extremely fast time.
Season 1990 closed for the Knights with 2 of the best games of the year, and they were both against the Balmain Tigers. The first was to force a playoff, and in front of a massive crowd it was a red and blue day. That win forced a rematch on the Tuesday night, and at Parramatta Stadium it was war, as both teams fought for a right to play at the football stadium the following weekend. And although the Knights put up a gallant effort, it was the Tigers who squared the ledger. And ironically, the first serious game of the year sees the two teams pitted against each other in Bundaberg in the first round of the Challenge Cup. It's a pretty strong lineup that the Knights take north, including two former Dragons in Jason Hoogerwerf and Steve Linane. Jason is no stranger to the Valley, playing all his junior footy with Aberdeen in Group 21 before joining St George in '88. That year was forgettable with a heavy suspension, but he came back with a fine 1989 season, and last year he was injury-plagued. But he's fully fit and raring to go.
Well, I look at it as my last stop in football as far as the top bracket's concerned, and this has got to be a year for me, or, you know, just pack the bag sort of thing. So this is a big year for me, hopefully. With so many talented forwards in the club, the incentive's there to be at his best. The pressure's there all the time, you know. There's a lot of depth at Newcastle, and the pressure will be a week-to-week thing, I think, for all the players. Steve Linane's career at the famous Red and White club also had its ups and downs, but the halfback has impressed many keen judges with his deceptive pace and brilliant attacking skills. The Knights have acquired his services almost by accident, and now that he has the opportunity to again reach the top, he's not about to let it slip.
Stevie Former's still injured, I think. I think he might have started training already, but and then Steve Wallers has been sick the last couple of weeks, and I'm just fortunate that I've been given the spot and just got to grasp it while it's there. And a reminder that NBN will bring you a full replay of the Newcastle Knights Balmain clash in Bundaberg at 10:25 this Sunday night. Matthew continues the Swansea Belmont tradition of Ironman champions and will now join former clubmate Guy Andrews competing for big money on the Uncle Toby circuit. He's been in outstanding form of late, with a fifth placing behind Darren Mercer in the interbranch titles at Redhead, and then on Saturday streeted his rivals to win the branch championships at Fingal Beach. Matthew will now be flown to all the major competitions, be provided with accommodation and a chance to climb the rankings. And it's not only himself who will benefit.
That'll make a big difference to me next year and also help my parents a lot too. They won't be stuck with taking me around the country.
But of course the step up will mean he will be competing against the Trevor Hindys and Guy Leaches.
I've managed to move up through the ranks a bit this year, and I don't think I'll be taking those guys this year, but I'll sort of look at that in the future, and hopefully I can just get myself inside the top 10 this year.
And with the time required for training and competing, Matthew has to weigh up his options.
It means I'm going to have to think about my uni. I was at uni, and whether I'm going to continue that or whether I'm going to take a year off and concentrate on the training and see how I go. But I've sort of got aims and goals, and if I can continue with those, I'll keep continuing to be in the Uncle Toby series and see where it takes me.
What are those aims and goals?
Oh, well, if I can finish, as I said, inside the top 10 this year, and then I'll have a look at the end of this year how I've gone. If my contract gets continued, I'll see, I'll increase it to the 5 next year, and then hopefully into the 1 and 2 in a few years' time.
A record crowd of over 12,500 fans poured into Salter Oval to see a double header, and it was the Tigers through Grant who opened the scoring. And then the fireworks. Carter lined up a Tiger. Then another big Knights wallop. And then Siranen fired a shot of his own. And then the Tigers slipped into action and got on with the job. Tempers boiled over with Johnston and Roach involved, Siranen over the top and Tony Kemp for the Knights. Referee Harrigan sent Ciro and Kemp to the bin to cool off, and at half-time it was 12-4 in favour of the Tigers. Then at the start of the second half, a bewildering decision by Harrigan as Ashley Gordon was marched for an alleged late head-high tackle on Gary Freeman.
I didn't think I did anything really harsh. I did hit him maybe a little late, but I didn't hit him high, and I thought maybe 5 or 10 minutes in the bin might have been appropriate rather than a send-off.
Stung into action and behind by 6 points, Slam and Sam, Stewart and Doyle combined to get the Knights on a roll. Tim Brasher was in everything, and he helped the Tigers to skip out by 8 points at the start of the final quarter. Tony Kemp then opened up and Michael Hagan was in. Schuster converted to make it 16-18. Balmain grabbed a penalty goal, and with only 4 minutes left in the match, the Knights came alive. $20 and again a last-minute kick would decide the outcome.
Terrific performance from them to come back against all the odds, and it just shows that they persevered with what they had to do and got them home.
The quiet scenery of the Allen River district near East Gresford is the location of Craig Peavy's country retreat for his final preparation before Friday night's fight at the Revesby Workers Club. But Craig isn't taking a leaf from the Waters Brothers training manual. All his intensive preparations have been under the guidance of trainer Brian Ingham in Sydney. However, he admits the last few weeks spent in the country have kept him in trim.
I don't think I've ever trained so hard ever. Even when I won the Australian title 7 years ago, I don't think I've been as fit, as well as the temperature up here is really different. It's made my weight come down really easy.
Peavy's anxious to finally get a crack at the title. His last fight with Renato Cornet was called off after doctors inspected a cut above his left eye.
Craig Peavy could be in trouble now. That left eye is badly cut. And this fight, let's go into the corner and listen to Billy Miles. I think it's over. That's the fight, it's over.
Peavy still carries the scar, which he says fight replays demonstrate was caused not by gloves, but by an inadvertent head clash while he was ahead on points. Since then, Cornet pulled out of a rematch about 6 months ago, pleading an arthritic complaint. But this time, the contenders look set to settle their differences, although Craig Peavy rejects the promoters' claims that this will be a grudge match.
They keep saying that's what it is, but he's just like he's a fighter with the Australian title that I want, so I'm just going to take it off him come Friday night.
President Bush says it falls short of United Nations requirements of an unconditional withdrawal from Kuwait. Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein is yet to respond to the proposal, but Iran claims he is likely to back the Gorbachev initiative. The Allied rejection of the plan has prompted new reports that the ground offensive will start within days. Baghdad last night came under siege from Allied bombs. However, that didn't stop another Scud being fired at Israel. It's believed to have been intercepted by a US Patriot. In Sydney, a petrol bomb has been thrown into a building used by visiting US servicemen. Police are investigating whether it was an act of terrorism linked to the Gulf War. No one was hurt in the attack on the Australian-American club. The resulting fire was put out by sprinklers. Since 1969, the Royal Newcastle Hospital has been the training ground for the region's nurses. In that time, close to 1,000 nurses have completed courses in intensive care, renal and operating theatre. Today, though, all that ended with Since 1969, the Royal Newcastle Hospital has been the training ground for the region's nurses. In that time, close to 1,000 nurses have completed courses in intensive care, renal and operating theatre. Today, though, all that ended with the final graduation ceremony at Christchurch Cathedral. 11 perioperatives, 7 intensive care and 4 renal transplant nurses were presented with their certificates and badges by the Director of Nursing, Deirdre Anderson. From now on, training will be carried out at the John Hunter, the state's new teaching hospital, and nursing officials are confident the standard of training will be maintained.
Remember, a large number of the staff at the John Hunter have gone from the Royal, and they're very proud of the courses that have been conducted at the Royal for so long, and no doubt at all the standards will be just as high.
Iraq has vowed to fight on, and Moscow has signalled there's been no response to its peace plan for the Gulf. There are no immediate plans for Iraqi Foreign Minister Tariq Aziz to return to Moscow with Baghdad's response to the Kremlin initiative. US President Bush has repeated that the plan falls short of Allied requirements to end the conflict. Meanwhile, US attack helicopters have fired on an Iraqi bunker complex inside Kuwait, capturing 500 prisoners. 1 US soldier was killed and 7 wounded. The trial of 4 IRA suspects charged with the murder of 2 Australian tourists in the Netherlands last year has been told 4 key witnesses risk death if they appear in court. Security is tight for the hearing into the deaths of Stephen Melrose and Nick Spanos, who were mistaken for British soldiers by the IRA. The accused face life imprisonment.